right? Going over the homework. So some of you watched it. So way to go. Which of the following statements would be true, right? And so the first thing you always check is to whether or not the angles are supplementary. If they're not supplementary, right, then immediately it's not even going to be close to being true, right? These two add up to 180, so that's good. And you have a negative in front of one of them, right? You can't just say they're equal because you're going to have to change the sign of one of them. So this is actually true. Again, here, this gets you to 120 plus 50 is 170, right? So that is a false, doesn't even pass the first test. These are supplementary, yes, but one of them would have to have a negative in front. So that's also false. And you can simply type it into your calculator and see for yourself, right? So for these ones, you need to understand, because this will come up quite often, what's the value of the supplementary angle? So cosine of 134, right, the supplement of the 46, would be negative 0.7071. And I'm going to warn you here, sometimes I just make up these numbers because I want to see if you know what I'm talking about, right? So cosine 46 exists, then 134 is just a negative because it's an obtuse angle, right? Here the supplement of that would be 35 out of that. Okay, that would be 1.2345. I don't know if you noticed that, right? I just made that up, but it would be positive. And then sine of 165 would be 0.2345. Okay, so you just find a supplement and come up with a value, right? Next, predict the sine. Sine will, no matter what, always be positive, right? It doesn't matter if the angle is obtuse or acute, it's always going to be positive. Cosine will only be negative if it's an obtuse angle, so that's actually positive as well. We didn't really talk about tangent, but tangent behaves just like cosine, right? So this would be negative. And you could have checked your calculators for that one. So this page is worth 7 marks. So half a mark for each of the signs here, 1 mark for each of these, and then half a mark for each of those, right? And now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of yesterday's lesson. So flip to the back, and I have lots of these coming your way, so, well, even after the test, I'll keep on making sure you understand what's happening here, right? So the first thing is to determine if this is an SSA scenario, and you have a pair and another side, so this is definitely SSA. And look at the angle, it's acute. Make those two observations right off the bat. If this had not been SSA, immediately no rod and string required, it's one triangle, okay? It's one triangle. But in this case, it is SSA, it's acute, so we need to investigate further. Okay, you put the 67, this is the 19, this is the 22. Okay, so this is your rod, this is your string. So we know that the string is less than the rod, which means we do have to find the height. And the height is 22 times sine of 67. Okay, 22 times sine of 67 would give you 20.25 centimeters. And then you notice that the string is less than the height. How many triangles? None, right? No solutions. Okay, because the string is 19, you need at least a 20.25 to actually close that gap, right? So you can't do that. no solution. So I'm going to give you one mark if you have your diagram and you get to this point, right? And then I give you another mark by finding the height and coming up with no solution. And so here you have, this is not an SSA. You notice that? Not SSA. Therefore, one solution. Done. No need to investigate there. That's going to be an SAS. That's going to be cosine. And cosine does know the difference between, because that's the problem. Sine law doesn't distinguish between the acute and the obtuse angle. That's why this is happening. RST, R and R, right? Which would be we will be doing this weekend. And then another. So this is SSA. And this is acute. Okay, so draw your rod and string. Shouldn't take you very long. Okay, R goes here. 6.7 goes there. Rod and string, make sure you put that down. And so the string is less than the rod. I need to go find the height. That's 6.7 times sine of 57. 6.7 times sine of 57. That's 5.62 inches. Sorry. And you see that your string is slightly longer than the height, right? Therefore, you actually have two triangles, two solutions, or two triangles is the same thing. Here I would do the same. You draw your diagram, you come up with the string is less than the rod, you get a mark already. Then you find the height and you make your second conclusion, right? That would be another, and then of course you have to tell me how many solutions there are. And then the last one, here I'm going to be picky on your diagram, okay? So Y and Y and another side, this is SSA, and it's obtuse. Okay, you make a note of that, which means that you caught the fish, right? So you kind of draw it like that. The 143 goes in here. The side across from it is 75. This is 68, therefore. And so since this string, this is your rod, this is your string, since the string is greater than the rod, right, one solution. Actually, very easy, this one. No need to find the height. Some teachers will ask you to do that, but it's not needed, right? Like, why would you find the height? Because it all has to do with the relationship between the string and the rod. Some teachers just say, hey, find the height every single time. But why would we waste the time if we don't have to? So I would give you one mark for diagram and the string and rod comparison, and then one mark for just telling me how many solutions there are. So what are we at? 2, 4, 6, 7. This page is worth 7. 7 and 7, 14. How do you say 14 in French? Anybody? No? Just interested. Because in Spanish you say 14. Isn't that kind of? I have a feeling that's going to be the same in French, just a little different, right? Different sound. Anyways, you put your name on there, right, and then pass it forward. Just make sure you flip it upside down.